Good morning, Mr. Acting Speaker. Good morning, members of the House and listening public. Mr. Acting Speaker, I rise today to inform the Honorable House on steps required to obtain a death certificate. I begin by acknowledging the fact that the loss of life is never easy to accept. The Bermuda population is not immune to death, and as a small jurisdiction, we experience our share of deaths, not just deaths of local residents, but also deaths of visitors to the island. Each year, the Registry General records a number of deaths that occurred in Bermuda for the calendar year. For example, the year ending the 31st of December 2021, there were a total of 730 deaths recorded. This figure consists of 727 deaths for residents and 3 deaths.
One second, Minister. Pause. There's no statement on the website. It's there now? Okay, sorry. Continue.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. The figure consists of 727 deaths for residents and 3 deaths for non-residents. While we often hear the comment that deaths is a natural part of life, Bermudians, like most members of modern society, struggle with the loss of a loved one. And for some, it is only their faith that sustains them through their moments of grief. Compound the loss of a loved one with the unfortunate delay in the issuance of a death certificate to the deceased family members only prolongs their grief, as they are not able to settle the affairs of the deceased. We appreciate, Mr. Acting Speaker, a perceived delay in producing these documents can interfere with closure for a family or loved one, but also the completion of such things as estate planning or probate. This is important business that families may be dependent on being properly settled. These are things that the registrar understands and always takes into consideration with whatever work he does in this area. Mr. Acting Speaker, a death certificate can only be obtained from the Registry General Department. The registration of a death and the issuance of a death certificate is a statutory requirement which the department is governed by the provisions of the Registration, Births and Deaths Act 1949 in providing this service. Pursuant to Section 11 of the Act, the registrar must be notified that a person has died in Bermuda. The Registrar General is notified of a death by either a medical practitioner, hospital, funeral home, or by the coroner's office, or the magistrate where an inquest is held on the body of the deceased person. Pursuant to Section 12 of the Act, the notification of death is via an application to the Registrar General on the prescribed Form E, known as the Particulars of Death. The application is submitted with the payment of the relevant prescribed fee of $35. Mr. Acting Speaker, the Registrar General Department understands the sensitivity where death of a person or loved one has occurred and processes these applications as a matter of urgency. The department has internal performance measures, and applications for a death certificate are processed within 10 days from receipt of the Form E. The death certificate is produced, and the applicant, i.e., such as a funeral home, is contacted immediately to advise that the death certificate is ready for collection. However, Mr. Acting Speaker, when the coroner's office or the magistrate or are reviewing a particular death, the Registry General Department cannot process or issue a death certificate until they have received the Form E, death notice, from either the coroner's office or the magistrate's court. These reviews or inquests of the body of a deceased person by the coroner's office can take months, and sometimes over a year to conclude, which delays the Registry General Department from registering the death and issuing a death certificate. Also, delays in producing a death certificate can occur when the Form E submitted by funeral homes contains errors that are detected at the verification stage of processing, and the Registry General Department has to send the Form E back to the funeral home to be corrected. It should be emphasized that certificates must include the full legal name of the deceased. Mr. Acting Speaker, you will note that often you see obituaries which contain the name of the person that he or she is known by, and often includes their nickname. However, the name may not be the full legal name of the deceased. Often this occurs with funeral homes because they have not been provided with the full legal name. If the full legal name is not on the Form E, the death certificate cannot be processed and can result in delay. Mr. Acting Speaker, in closing, the process of obtaining a death certificate is straightforward and guided by the Registration Birth Death Act 1949. The registrar has to be first notified via Form E that a death has occurred in Bermuda. Once notified, the death is registered and a death certificate is issued. Only when the Form E is incorrect or the death is under review, an inquest is held by the coroner's office or the magistrate's court, is there a delay in the issuing of the death certificate.